kicked my tripod. Okay, hopefully you have had the chance to look at the first video I posted a week or two ago, where it's just an introductory video about your instructor in general. And I know many of you have, because many of you have sent me an email with the instructions that were at the end of that little video. And this is also an introductory video, but it's more specific to what you're going to see and what's going to be expected of you this semester. I just posted the syllabus in the class. Hopefully you got a Blackboard notification of that. Thank you so much to those of you who've sent me those emails. It's been really interesting reading the reasons that you're in this class. As I've said to a few of you, people take family law because most of the time because they're interested in it. Yeah, it's an essay question on the bar, maybe. But it's also one that people are really personally invested in. So it's been really a pleasure to read some of your emails to me so far. If you haven't had a chance to send one to me, the instructions are in that other short video that's posted to your class. So this is a little video to explain to you in more detail what's in the syllabus. It's what I would typically do on the first day of class. I also want to give you some sort of guidelines as to how this course will run online, because it's going to be different. It's not just going to be lecture, but there's a bunch of different components, and I wanted to explain that to you in a video format so that I could go into more detail than the syllabus goes into. But I'm looking at a copy of my syllabus right here. If this needs to change, it will. Generally speaking, you're responsible to read approximately 40 pages a week. Sometimes less, sometimes more. There are a couple of weeks where you won't have any text readings, but you'll have supplements. As I said in the last video, one of the things that's missing from this textbook is the statutory focus. So when I say in the syllabus, this week's readings will be supplemented with statutes, I gave you an example of what those statutes might be, and I'll put those in the course weekly through an announcement. So I'll tell you, these are the statutes, these are the websites I want you to look at for week of August 10. Okay, so the class components will be primarily readings from your text and other supplemental readings that I give you, and videos like this. I'm going to aim for between 10 and 20 minutes a piece, because any longer than that and it's just a canned lecture, and you're going to lose your attention span at about 7 minutes. So hopefully you can hang on a little bit longer than that. And what the videotaped lecture is designed to do is to talk about the concepts in the week in plain language. Your textbook is just cases. There's some explanation, but not a whole lot of it. And I want to take the concepts like how we determine custody, how we determine what are the consequences of a divorce, and explain those to you starting from sort of a basic level. And I may use an easel, I might use a whiteboard. Typically when I give a lecture in a class, I have a whiteboard and I'm taking my own notes and giving you the highlights of what I'm talking about in real time, and I aim to do that as well. Although with this scenario, with a videotape, you can stop it and rewind it, so it's not as crucial that happens. And what I have is my 5-year-old's chalkboard easel. So might be that, might be whiteboard, we'll see. So it's designed to give you the broad, basic concepts from a practitioner's point of view. This is helpful for a couple of reasons. One, it's what the bar wants. The bar is going to give you a scenario where you're going to talk about the broad concepts, not necessarily the details. I do not expect you to remember case names. I do not expect rote memorization. There are a few exceptions to that. There are some Supreme Court cases like Loving versus Virginia that you may know by name, and you should, but there's a very few of those. It isn't practical from a practice perspective, and it's not practical for the bar, especially considering some of you are taking it in other states. So, a case from South Carolina in 1920 is not typically that relevant for your practice today. So if it were me, I would be watching the videos for the week, which will be posted at the beginning of the week or before, before I do the readings. You don't have to do that, but for me, I like to have an idea of the concepts, of the broader overarching concepts, before I look at the illustrations, which is what the case does. A case in your casebook is going to illustrate a certain topic. That being said, you aren't first years anymore, so you remember from your first year classes that you might read a case, and that case is not illustrating the rule, but it's illustrating the exception to it. Because the cases you get in your textbook say something, but not necessarily the rule in Kentucky, and not even necessarily the rule in the majority of jurisdictions across the country. There's lots of cases that you're going to read which are the exceptions. And they're designed to make you think, and we're going to do a lot of that in the discussion boards. Think about changing the law or using the law to our benefit, or is this good or is this a bad law? But in order to analyze that, you have to understand what the law is, and those basic concepts are what I'm going to be giving you in these videos. Then I've got my statement of the course overview here. Blackboard, I'm using it extensively. Obviously, it's an online course, and it's asynchronous, meaning you can do the work whenever. That doesn't mean that there are no deadlines. There'll be deadlines every week, typically on twice a week, maybe Wednesdays or Thursdays for an initial discussion board post, and Sundays for the rest of your work that's required in a particular week. So yeah, I'm going to rely on Blackboard to convey content to you and for you to submit assignments. Conduct. So you will interact with each other on discussion boards. That's important because it's kind of the best part of a class is being able to talk about these issues with other people. If not, you could just read the book on your own and just learn whatever you gather from it. But these discussions in this particular topic can be sensitive. You have no idea whether the person you're talking to, unless they tell you, was the subject of or a horrible custody case, or whether their parents' rights were terminated because of abuse. We talk about really sensitive subjects in this course. This isn't, like other courses, and so be cognizant of that. You will be interacting with each other, and sometimes students will share their personal stories and sometimes they won't. But when you have those discussions with each other, and we'll talk about those specific components in a minute, be professional, be courteous, and understand that we all come to this particular subject with a background or with some pretty loaded thoughts on what's good and bad in family law. Remember that a lot of people have really bad experiences either with the system or with the case that brought them to the system. These aren't the happiest of cases. They can have happy endings and you can help people, but they can be grueling. Okay. Deadlines. Typically in law school courses, deadlines are deadlines. Nobody accepts anything late, but we're in a pandemic. And, this week in my county, schools are starting again. My kid doesn't go back for another couple of weeks. You guys are dealing with caregiving and moving and all kinds of stuff. It is much more likely, and you'll have assignments this semester, not just a final exam, that I will extend a deadline due to whatever personal circumstances you have. If I know ahead of time, I get with emergencies, it's not going to happen. Understand that that's not realistic, because in real life, deadlines are deadlines, and you can't extend a statute of limitation because somebody had a personal emergency. But this is a new semester for everybody, and if something happens and you need an extension, contact me as soon as possible. If you need extra time on something, I will very likely ask you for documentation of something. If you might get quarantined, you might lose a job, you might lose there's all kinds of things that could happen. So I intend to be as flexible with students as I can for things like deadlines. Okay, course content. Readings from the text. These short video presentations on text concepts. Weekly discussion boards. So the best, I think, way to approach this is to watch the video presentation first, which would be a shortened version of my lecture. to read the text material that goes along, and then to start thinking about your answers for the discussion board. A discussion board, if you've never seen one before, I pose a question, and I will be doing this weekly. If I can do them ahead of time so you can work ahead, I will. I will pose a question with some very detailed parameters, and you discuss that question with other students. And typically I require 1 original post and 1 to 2 responses. So if your original post is due by a Wednesday or Thursday of a week, your responses would be due on Sunday. You have a few days in order to respond to other students, and this is how we approximate that classroom experience. I will tell you that the text readings are not sequential. I do not like the organization of your text. I have organized this course starting from not married, what happens before marriage, to divorce and annulment and spousal support and child custody, termination of rights. It makes sense for me to do it chronologically, from before marriage to during, after, and beyond. So your readings are choppy. I've given you specific page numbers, sometimes given you names of cases, and I've tried to cut down a little bit from the 1,000 pages that are in your textbook. But understand that the reason it's set up that way is because it's following a format that I find helpful and also chronological. Then I have in your calendar, so your syllabus has a calendar with readings, and it has 4 assignments in it. Those 4 assignments are due, your due dates are given for them already. The specific instructions you don't have yet, but you do have the basic outline of what you'll be doing. One is towards the end of the semester, where you'll be either drafting a petition or because that's what we use in family law, not a complaint, but a petition, or discovery, and then swapping it back and forth between other students as if you were opposing counsel on a case. You have one where you'll determine child support under the applicable state that you're going to practice in their child support guidelines, a jurisdictional assignment, and then a child custody assignment. So there are 4 assignments throughout the semester, and around those, I have scheduled some optional Zoom or Collaborate meetings. I have a paid Zoom account, and it works really well. I don't want all 42 of you at once, because a lot of times you can't hear what's going on and it gets really complicated. So I'm going to assign you to groups of 10 to 11 apiece. So that's roughly 4 groups. And these Collaborate meetings will be set at a time that works for most of you in that group. If you can't make the meeting, watch it. All of them will be posted, and I think I put 3 or 4 in the course. You do not have to attend the meeting, but it's where we can develop a rapport. You can ask questions in real time. You can ask me to clarify things. I'll record them all and I'll post them. So the other thing is, if you're really struggling with a concept, you can watch all 4 different videos of the Zoom meetings we did that cover that concept. These are not designed to give you new material. They are to answer questions, to clarify, to talk about things that might be interesting to you that we are not covering in the text. And they, I have done them before in other classes, and it really works well if we have a small group to do them in. But it's too large of a class to do it all together. So the weeks where we'll have those Zoom meetings are also listed in your syllabus. I said Zoom or Collaborate. I prefer using Collaborate because it saves it directly to the class. If I do it in Zoom, I have to upload it. But Collaborate is a little bit more finicky, and Zoom might be a better technical platform. I'm going to figure out as we go which one works better for us. And it's just an issue of how it's going to work well for us. And then, so the 4 assignments and then the final exam. 20 points will be awarded based on participation, and participation is graded based on your timely posts in the discussion boards. 40 points, 10 points each on those 4 assignments, and then 40 points on the final exam. The final exam is take home, It is, I think you'll have a week to do it, but once you open it, you'll have, I believe, 2 hours to complete the exam. It's open notes, open books, and it's a large essay question like it will be on the bar exam. You will have to get exam 4 set up for that, but you likely have that from last semester. And in the syllabus, you'll see 12 different objectives. Those are objectives that I created based on what I think we need to cover. And then I organized the course material to go along with those objectives. So for every week in your calendar, you'll see an objective. Here's what we're learning this week. You'll see page numbers from the text that you should be reading. Then you might see in parentheses supplemented with. And so that's where it's a reminder to me and also a preview of coming attractions for you to say, oh, we're going to supplement this with divorce statutes, or we're going to supplement this with websites that show me what the guideline calculations might be, or what the Kentucky child support guidelines are, or the Indiana parenting time guidelines. So there are some, if you see that in parentheses, that's a content note. This is what is covered with the supplemental content coming, or in the text portions themselves. Most weeks are approximately, I think I said 40 pages. There are weeks in October where you're not going to have 40 pages of text. You're not going to have maybe any text. And those are the weeks that we're going to be working on the civil procedure side, meaning how do I file this? Where do I file this? What are the statutory requirements? It's one thing to know I'm entitled to a divorce under these circumstances. It's another thing altogether to know, okay, well, I have to take a parenting class. For example, in the state that I practice in, you cannot divorce the father or mother of your child without taking a parenting class, and that's statutory. And a lot of people don't understand that, especially if they say, well, we agree, we don't have any custody issues. No, you've got to take that class. Some other statutes require mediation, and so those are things that we're going to do over those 2 weeks where we have less text content as well. Also, the procedure in family law is different from other civil court procedures, so it's not likely that you would get much of it in a civil procedure class where you're talking about filing a complaint and an answer. The documents are different. In family law, many times Supreme Courts of individual states will promulgate model petitions because lots of petitioners are pro se, more so than in civil court. And so those are things that we're going to talk about those particular weeks. And then we will have a final Zoom or Collaborate meeting the week of November 16th. I think November 16th is even a Tuesday. That's the last day of class. And then the final exam period is November 19th through December 7th. I don't have the specific dates for your exam. That gives you a little guidance as to how this online course operates, with the assignments that you'll have, with the discussion boards you'll have, the content you'll be reading, and those introductory videos where I'm telling you kind of the concepts that you're looking at in a plain English way. The very first Zoom meeting we have is about 2 weeks into the course, and in that particular one, it would be nice if you could give me some feedback. I'm a fast talker, and the biggest comment I get back from students is, I can't keep up with you because you move too fast. And if it's recorded, you can always stop. You might even be able to slow me down, I don't know. But if the issue is I can't hear your audio, or I would appreciate slower content or larger graphics or what have you, that it would be a good time to give me that feedback, and then any other feedback that you have. The next video that you'll receive will be substantive, and that'll be on week 1. Week 1, we are talking about pre-marriage, non-marriage, so cohabitation issues, paternity issues when it's outside of a marriage, and premarital agreement, so the things that happen to domestic relations cases before marriage, all of those issues. And then week 2 we'll start with marriage itself. Again, if you have any questions, send me an email. My email's at the top of the syllabus, and I'm super excited. So we'll see you guys later.